It begins, perhaps, in the quiet corner of a kitchen. The same kitchen that's seen decades of laughter, birthdays, and cups of tea shared at sunrise. You stand by the counter, a soft stream of morning light spilling through the curtains, touching the familiar edges of your favorite mug. The scent of toast lingers in the air, the same breakfast you've had for years. But lately, there's a quiet question that's begun to whisper beneath the hum of routine. Is everything I eat still kind to me? It's a strange thought, almost uncomfortable. After all, food has always been comfort, not danger. Yet somewhere between growing older and growing wiser, the body begins to whisper truths that can no longer be ignored. There's something unsettling about realizing that what once nourished you might now be quietly harming you. The sugar that sweetened your tea, the processed meat that filled your sandwiches, the convenience that once felt like a blessing, they all carry hidden costs that only time reveals. And for those past 65, when the body becomes gentler and more honest, those costs can rise faster than we expect. You see, aging doesn't mean fragility, it means clarity. It's as though your body, after years of loyal service, has finally begun to speak with sincerity, urging you to protect it, to listen, to choose more carefully. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, about love expressed through what we put on our plates. Because food, for better or worse, has always been more than fuel. It's memory, culture, emotion. But the world has changed, and the foods that surround us today aren't the same as the ones we grew up with. Behind the bright packaging and easy flavor lies a quiet danger, a slow erosion that the mirror might not reveal until it's already begun. Still, awareness brings power. Once you see the truth, you can begin to heal, to simplify, to return to what your body truly recognizes as nourishment. So perhaps it's time to open that pantry with fresh eyes, not to judge, but to understand. To discover which foods, despite their familiarity, no longer belong in the story of your well-being. Because protecting your health after 65 isn't about giving things up. It's about letting go of what no longer loves you back. And once you see the difference, you'll never look at a simple meal the same way again. I remember a neighbor of mine, Mr. Harris, a kind man in his 70s, who used to bring over slices of his homemade pie every Sunday. He had that gentle warmth of someone who had lived a good life, someone whose laughter could still fill a room. But one day, he told me something quietly over his cup of coffee. I didn't realize the food I loved was slowly turning against me. His words hung in the air, both humble and heavy. He wasn't talking about indulgence, just the everyday habits that crept in unnoticed. The sweetened cereals, the salty soups from cans, the comfort of fried snacks that reminded him of his younger days. He said it wasn't one big mistake that hurt him, but 1,000 small ones that went unseen for too long. You see, after 65, the body becomes a storyteller, too. But its language is subtle. It speaks through the stiffness in the morning, the swelling of ankles, the tiredness that no nap can cure. These aren't just signs of age, they're signals, messages written by years of nourishment and neglect. And food,
The very thing that once gave us strength can begin to shape our days in ways we never expected. Processed sugars, for example, are silent thieves of vitality. They hide in sauces, breads, and beverages that promise convenience but deliver inflammation and fatigue. And those processed meats, once the symbol of a hearty meal, now carry within them a burden of sodium and chemicals that quietly weigh on the heart.
But this reflection isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to awaken something gentle, awareness. Because even the smallest change made with understanding carries power. When Mr. Harris began to replace his morning toast with a bowl of oats and berries, he didn't call it a diet. He called it respect. Respect for the body that had carried him through so many chapters of life. And maybe that's what this stage of life asks of us. Not fear, not guilt, but respect. A quiet recognition that caring for ourselves isn't selfish, it's gratitude made visible. Every choice becomes a thank you to the heart that beats, to the hands that still hold, to the body that still carries us through the soft light of morning. So as we walk this reflective path together, let's look closer, not just at what's on our plate, but what it means. Because food isn't just physical, it's emotional, spiritual. And when we begin to choose differently, we're not just avoiding harm, we're rewriting the story of how we wish to live the rest of our days, lighter, clearer, and more in tune with the quiet wisdom within. There comes a point in every life when comfort and caution stand side by side. You open the fridge, and there they are, the foods that taste like memory, the buttery biscuits your mother used to bake, the sizzling bacon that made Sunday mornings feel whole, the familiar sweetness of that late-night snack. They carry stories, and that's what makes them so hard to let go. Yet somewhere deep down, you begin to sense that those same comforts may no longer return the kindness you give them. The sugar doesn't just sweeten, it lingers burning quietly through the bloodstream. The fried food doesn't just fill you, it leaves a heaviness that seems to settle in your bones. And that canned soup, once a symbol of simplicity, hides more salt than your heart can bear.
It's a cruel paradox, how the foods that gave us comfort in youth can betray us in age. But maybe it's not betrayal. Maybe it's simply a reminder that life, like the seasons, asks us to adapt. The body we have after 65 is softer, wiser, more sensitive to imbalance. It no longer tolerates what it once endured. It asks for gentler care, for honesty. And honesty can hurt. There's grief in letting go of old favorites, in accepting that moderation may no longer be enough. It feels unfair that something as innocent as food could turn against you. But when you look closer, there's also something beautiful beneath the ache. The realization that love, even self-love, is sometimes a quiet act of sacrifice. Because when you decide to stop eating what harms you, you're not denying yourself pleasure, you're giving yourself time. More mornings to wake without stiffness, more evenings to sit without discomfort, more chances to feel alive, not just survive. And isn't that what we truly want as the years unfold? Not more indulgence, but more peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing your choices are gentle toward the body that has carried you through every joy, every sorrow, every sunrise you've ever seen. So maybe the question isn't, what must I give up? But what am I finally ready to honor? Because health at this age isn't about perfection, It's about reconciliation between who you were and who you are now, between what you crave and what you truly need, between habit and wisdom. When you begin to listen to that inner voice, the one that says, "Enough," not out of fear, but out of care, you realize something profound. Your body has been loving you all along. It just wants you to love it back. Understanding comes quietly, not as a flash of revelation, but as a soft unfolding of truth. One evening, you might find yourself standing in the grocery aisle, holding a box of something you've bought for years. You turn it over, and for the first time, you actually read the label, not the colors or promises on the front, but the small print on the back. Words like high fructose corn syrup, sodium nitrate, hydrogenated oil, and artificial flavor begin to mean something now. They're not just ingredients, they're warnings written in fine print, reminders of how easily convenience can disguise harm. You place the box back, feeling both wiser and slightly heartbroken. But that's what real understanding feels like sometimes. Bittersweet clarity.
The truth is, there are certain foods that, no matter how familiar or comforting, simply no longer belong in the body of someone who has earned the wisdom of age. Processed meats, bacon, sausages, deli slices, carry chemicals that inflame and strain the heart. Sugary beverages, once innocent companions to conversation, now push blood sugar into dangerous tides. Fried and packaged snacks hide trans fats that silently attack the arteries. And those instant meals, laced with sodium and preservatives, offer not nourishment, but a hollow kind of satisfaction that fades faster with every passing year. These are not just foods. They are small thieves of vitality, slowly stealing energy, clarity, and peace. Yet here lies the beautiful paradox. Understanding danger is not a burden, but a gift. Because once you know what to avoid, you make space for what truly heals. The body, even in its later years, is remarkably forgiving. It renews, it restores, it softens. The moment you choose whole foods, fresh vegetables, clean proteins, fruits, grains, the body responds with gratitude. The skin glows a little more, the mind clears a little faster, and the heart beats with a little less strain. The small decisions, one less sugary drink, one more home-cooked meal, become quiet acts of grace, moments of alignment between wisdom and will. So perhaps this is what growing older teaches us, that knowledge isn't meant to burden, but to free us from the illusions that comfort always equals care, to free us from habits that once served us but no longer serve the body we live in now. And in that freedom lies a new kind of joy, not the wild joy of youth, but the steady, radiant peace of someone who understands that life's truest pleasures come not from indulgence, but from intention. There's a certain quiet that settles in when you begin to live with awareness, a calm that wasn't there before. Meals become smaller, simpler, slower. You find yourself tasting each bite instead of rushing through it, feeling gratitude for the way food nourishes instead of just fills. The kitchen, once cluttered with packets and bottles, begins to breathe again. A few fresh ingredients, a pot simmering gently, the sound of a knife against a cutting board.
It feels almost like returning home, not to a place, but to yourself. Because choosing what truly sustains you isn't just a health decision, it's a spiritual one. It's the act of saying, "My body has carried me far, and now I will carry it gently."
You begin to realize that growing older isn't about restriction, but refinement. It's about finding beauty in simplicity, the sweetness of fruit instead of sugar, the warmth of homemade broth instead of processed salt. And as your body grows lighter, so does your heart. The aches that once lingered start to fade, replaced by quiet energy. The mind sharpens, sleep deepens, and even small walks feel different, steadier, freer. This is what it means to live in harmony with time, to no longer fight it, but to flow with its wisdom. The foods you avoid are no longer temptations denied, but lessons learned, reminders of the power of choice and the love you've finally begun to give yourself. One day, you might sit by the window with a simple meal, a bowl of vegetables, a cup of green tea, and watch the light shift across the table. There will be peace in that moment, a knowing that you have begun to live not in resistance to aging, but in partnership with it. The years behind you have been rich with flavor, and the years ahead can still be sweet, just in a gentler, truer way. Because the real joy of aging gracefully isn't found in holding on to the past, but in caring deeply for the present. And maybe that's the lesson at the heart of it all, that after 65, health isn't just a condition, it's a conversation between your body and your choices, between wisdom and will, between the love you give and the care you keep. So tonight, as you prepare your next meal, perhaps you'll remember this, that growing older isn't about the years we've lived, but the love we've finally learned to hold, one mindful bite at a time.